parents told my brother that he could take my house and I could just live in a camper in the backyard because I'm single and he has a wife and kids. Part 1. I'm a single man in my early 30s. I've got a brother who's 29 and he's already got 4 kids now. He had his first at 22, and the second followed a year later. Then the third 2 years after that, and the fourth is most recently born a couple months ago. His wife, my sister-in-law, and I did not get along, as she always likes to try and get a rise out of me by acting superior, then turns into an extreme self-victimizing drama queen if I retaliated against her in any way. She can cry in an instant, and can put on an extremely convincing show to get sympathy from just about anyone. My parents and brother absolutely adore her though, even if they know exactly how she really is and just don't care. She's very good looking, I'll give her that, but she's so awful that I could never be attracted to her. She also refuses to get any sort of job, even though she has a college degree, and my mother willingly helps with the kids all day. So, their finances are entirely dependent on my brother. This also means they can't afford to live anywhere but my parents' house, and privacy is a bit of an issue, with all of them under one roof in a 3-bedroom house that was built in the 60s. Growing up, my younger brother was also the obvious favorite. We're 3 years apart in age, but he developed a superiority complex because I was badly punished if I retaliated against his antics in any way back then. It was obvious my parents cared for him a lot more, because he got the lion's share of everything, unless people called them out on it. Which did happen a fair bit by other members of family, which is why my parents packed us all up and moved us about 150 miles away from them, so they generally would only see us on holidays since it was a 3-hour drive. My brother got physical towards me on a number of occasions, flirted relentlessly with my first girlfriend to the point she broke up with me, and laughed at any misfortune I had. And my parents just told me to suck it up whenever I was upset about it. I only got equal treatment when my parents wanted to keep up appearances. I admit it was rather funny to see the looks on their faces whenever they had to treat me equal to my brother on birthdays and Christmas because other people were present. We had relatives that were very nosy and loved gossiping drama. So my parents did their best to hide what was really going on and threatened to take all my stuff away if I didn't keep my mouth shut. If anything, it just made my parents celebrate more when I turned 18 and moved out, because it meant they no longer had to provide for me. I wasn't even done with high school yet when I moved out, but couch surfing was far better than living with them. I was low contact ever since leaving home. They didn't even show up for my high school graduation, but I really didn't care. From that point on, I would usually only see my parents and brother on holidays like the rest of the family. The start of 2020 pandemic was not kind to me. I lost my job and couldn't renew the lease on the condo because my roommate also lost his job, and neither of us could afford the place on unemployment money. It was a rented 2-bedroom condo that I really loved. As the lease was ending, my roommates left early to move back in with relatives, and I had to sell nearly all of my stuff because I was soon going to be homeless if I didn't downsize to an extreme. I really shouldn't have rented a place that was so expensive, but I liked living the high life. Until that, life wasn't kind to me, and I realized I should have been living somewhere far cheaper so I could have saved more money to fall back on. But I had a plan. I own a truck simply for the fact that I've always loved trucks. So, I found a $1,000 camper in good shape and put it on my truck just so I could live out of it for a while. It was supposed to be temporary, but I ended up living out of it far longer than I ever thought. I originally was hoping to be able to live out of the camper at my parents' house, where my brother and his family still reside as well. But when I asked my parents to let me stay for a while, they told me they had a full house and didn't want me there. Plus, we hadn't exactly gotten along in the past decade. They said they'd only agree to let me park my camper there if I paid them basically what it would cost to rent an apartment in my area. That was way too much just to park my camper. I was jobless and trying to save as much of my unemployment money as I could till I could find a new job. I may as well be living in an apartment with that rent price they were asking. My parents called my camper an eyesore and told me to take a hike since we couldn't come to an agreement. And sister-in-law thought it was absolutely hilarious I had to live in a camper. My brother joined her in pointing at and mocking me while calling me a homeless bum. So, I parked my truck/camper in the store parking lot to sleep on the first night that I had nowhere else to go. I felt scared out of my mind that someone might try to break in. Suffice to say, I didn't sleep well that night. There was nowhere else I could go, as any other relatives that owned houses were fairly far away and all my friends were all apartment people. And I was pretty attached to my area as well, so I didn't want to just leave. I'd also had my mail forwarded to a friend's apartment. It was the only way I could still get my mail anymore. Finding a stable place to park was pretty difficult. I went looking around to try and find a job similar to my old one. It took months of living the nomadic camper life. In that time, I had to deal with a lot. Everything from beggars and drug addicts to people demanding I leave because my camper was an eyesore. At one point, someone who told me to move claimed to be with an HOA. I wasn't even parked on a street with houses. And when I questioned, what HOA? They got incredibly belligerent and threatened me. So I moved my camper anyway just to avoid a trouble. In order to have a steady supply of electricity, I learned to use a long extension cord to plug in anywhere I could to recharge my camper batteries. This meant sneaking around and plugging it into an outside outlet of a random building while parked on a street. I know that's a crummy thing to do, but I had to keep my batteries charged so my refrigerator would stay cold. I had a small solar power bank for recharging my phone, but I didn't have anything like a generator. And generators are noisy and required fuel anyway, so I did what I had to do. After months of living like that, I finally managed to get a new job. I had to move to the neighboring city to find a job that didn't involve retail. I worked retail while in college and promised myself never again, though I was nearly ready to break that promise. I was still getting unemployment money, but I had no stable place to live while receiving it. And I didn't want to still be jobless when it ran out. Plus, I was bored out of my mind. I had little else to do but read, watch movies on a small portable DVD player, use my phone or laptop, and keep note of where I could park and what local public bathrooms I could use. I kind of envy that the Japanese have public bathhouses. We could really use stuff like that over here. When I finally landed a new job, I practically lived in the back lots of the building by the warehouse and old employee parking spaces literally no one else seemed to bother using, because they were so far in the back that the area was borderline forgotten. My boss/company owner actually liked this arrangement because I was willingly available to take any shift I could get, so long as I had enough sleep. He even let me take the camper off my truck and set it up in one of the spaces so I could drive around without it. Not exactly sure if this was legal, but no one bothered us about it. The entire time I lived back there, I didn't have to deal with many trespassers. There were a few, but the security guards escorted them out. I was pretty much on call almost all the time when they needed me, and was working virtually every day of the week. My boss let me plug my camper into the building for power and water, and I paid a small amount of rent by working for free on Sundays, when no one else was in the office but the janitor and security guard. Beyond that, I usually had to shower at a friend's apartment or at my local gym as the camper didn't have a shower in it, but only a portable toilet. And I didn't want to fill it because emptying it is a nasty chore. So I used other bathrooms as often as I could. I had a key to the warehouse and could go in to use the bathroom there at any hour. I was even on a first-name basis with the night security guard, who's since become one of my closest friends. The camper was easy to heat in the winter with a small electric heater. Summers were not fun though. The camper didn't have AC, so I had to get a used portable air conditioner just to make it bearable. I made a lot of overtime pay, and hands-on learned some new skills from other employees. Eventually, midway into this year, I landed a better position in the company as a supervisor, and started making a better salary than my old job. That's when I decided I wanted a house. The scare I'd gotten from losing my condo made me realize I needed something much more stable for the long term. I looked around for something close to my work, and just 2 miles away found a 3-bedroom manufactured home in a small property. But I managed to get it for $10,000 less than the asking price somehow. I used nearly my entire savings for a down payment and got approved for a home loan. I finally didn't have to live in a camper anymore. There was enough space for me to back my truck in behind the house, to take the camper off to set it up in the backyard. So, I put it there as its own little building just in case I want to use it again. When I was fully settled in the house, I was dumb enough to brag about it on my book of faces. My family saw the post, and that's where this crap really starts. After a few weeks, my parents and brother along with his family came to visit completely unannounced to have a tour of my home. I didn't even give them my address. So how they found out where I live, I still don't know. None of my friends have fessed up, and no prior family members visited me before that. So I wonder if they stalked me at work and followed me home or something. It really wouldn't surprise me. Once I opened the door, they practically all shoved their way in like rambunctious tourists, then just started making themselves at home. They all kept poking around, and sister-in-law had this creepy smirk that she was repeatedly flashing me. And it was only later that I figured out why. and it made me madder than a bull on steroids that just got stung by a hornet. My parents were constantly talking about how I've got so much extra space now, and it's too much for someone like me who has no wife or kids. Sure, not now, but maybe someday. And my brother kept remarking about how there was more space than our parents' house, and my house was closer to his job too. Red flags all around, I know. Eventually, my brother asked me to speak privately. Everyone else suddenly left the room and piled out onto the front porch. That's what finally made me realize they'd planned something. My brother, who we'll call Dan, said the house was too much for me alone, that I should let him move in with his family because his wife is pregnant with kid number 4. And my house is much closer to his job. He pointed out that I already have the camper, so I could just live in that outside while they live in the main house. And I'd like to point out that Dan never once spoke of offering rent. Mind you, he's got a good job. He also started talking about how there would be changes and even curfews, and that I couldn't just walk in at any time without prior notice. If it weren't my brother, I think the person I was talking to had lost their mind. But Dan lost his marbles long ago thanks to our parents treating him like he was the center of the world. I tried to speak, but he kept talking over me as if I had no say in the matter. There was no way in hell I'd rent my house nor parts of my house to him. Other people maybe, just so I can pay the mortgage off more easily. But certainly not him, nor his nasty wife. I've heard of this exact kind of situation in videos online many times, and never once did I think I'd actually live it because I thought it so ludicrous. But my parents, brother and sister-in-law do all fit the bill for a bunch of narcissistic entitled crazies. So, I picked up my phone and set it to start recording, then just held onto it. Dan didn't even seem to care or notice that I'd done this, and just sat there with his arms waving around while talking about all the reasons of why he needed my house. Then went from saying that to acting like it was a done deal, and tried to reach out his hand to shake mine. That's when I finally showed my backbone and said, "Hell no." And I said it loud enough that Dan stumbled backward for a second. I'd rarely ever raised my voice to him on that level, because I was punished by our parents whenever I did. But this was my house, not theirs. My spine can be as shiny as it wants here. I stood up and then told him that my house was not up for grabs. And acting like I let him move in just because they want it won't make it happen. I bought my house for me. It is not my fault he keeps having more kids, and he has to keep living with our parents because he can't afford to move out. Dan got as physically close to me as he could without actually touching me and said that I didn't deserve the house, and he needed a better place for his family to live. I laughed back in his face and said that was total BS, because I worked hard to be able to buy my house. Of course I deserved it. Dan started yelling that I have no wife or kids and I don't need all the space, so I may as well give it to him. I said I'm not giving him anything, and he never even offered to pay me rent. If I let him move in, I'd still be covering the entire mortgage on my own house without even being able to live in my own house. Then Dan told me that he shouldn't have to pay rent because his family comes first, and our parents said I was going to do this, and that I will. I yelled as if their word was law or something, then told Dan that they did not have the right nor power to give my house to him. Then right on cue, my parents and sister-in-law barged back in through the front door and surrounded me to try and force me to agree. There was a lot of fighting, but to sum it up from this point on, I heard a line, "Just do it for Dan," way more times than I can remember. In the fight, I told them all they don't have a say in my life or my house and to get out before I called the cops. Sister-in-law screamed the loudest at me about how she was pregnant again and I can't do this to her. I said I did nothing to her. She just assumed she could take and take from me, like I would just allow it. I had no obligation to her or her family. Then, I called her a stuck-up witch who never had any respect for me. So I don't care what she thinks or how many kids she has. I have no sympathy for her. She won't be living in my house. Well, that made her angry enough to attack me. She got in one good hit on my face and tried to do more, but my brother held her back, kicking and screaming. She kept demanding he let her go so she could scratch my eyes out. The phone I was holding recorded pretty much everything. So I held it up and said I was going to call the police if they didn't leave right away. My parents told Dan they were leaving. Then my mother said that I had a week to come to my senses. I told her I won't be, and to not come back. Then I told sister-in-law that my phone recorded everything, and if she tries anything, I'll press charges for assault. She screamed at me and then stormed out, loudly crying with her face in her hands. My mother was the last one out the door and said that I better do this for Dan and sister-in-law. I responded by telling her I won't be. Now for the comments. I would get an order of protection against the sister-in-law. I would also invest in security cameras and upgrade the locks. Maybe even invest in a big dog to act as guard dog for the property. That way, when they return, you have proof of trespassing. File a police report anyway. Let the cops deal with her. Do not get a guard dog. With people as unstable as OP's family, they're just as likely to kill the dog by feeding it poisoned meat or shoot it and claim self-defense for a poor pregnant woman. Okay, homie, I read it all and goddamn. Here's my 2 cents. 1. Go no contact with the lunatics, no matter what. 2. Do them solid and send that recording to the rest of your family. That way, you can go to the extended family holidays without having those crazies around. 3. Don't be sad about it. It ain't your fault that your brother can't finish in your sister-in-law when he has a big enough space. And definitely not your fault because she refuses to work when your parents already babysit the kids. 4. Keep your insanely strong mental going. You have a winner's attitude, and you continue to win in life no matter what it throws at you. 5. If they ever do this again, police. You already have evidence, so just go for it. You can also consider having cameras around your property just for the property's safety. 6. Get yourself a family of your own. You deserve it. And once that's settled, send some mails asking your parents when will they move in the trailer to make room for your kids. And also let them know the rent they must pay to use your trailer. 7. If sister-in-law tries that again and you catch a second attack on camera, CPS may want to look at how stable she is to be allowed to raise kids. Tell your boss too, so that if they turn up at your job trying to cause trouble, he's already aware of what's going on. Getting a lawyer to send a cease and desist might scare them off for a bit too.
Update. I cheated on my wife 3 years ago. She agreed to forgive me if we opened the marriage, but now I live in agony every day. Original post. So basically, my wife, 39, found out that I, 41, had been hooking up with a woman I met online who lived 2 hours away. When the woman visited, we checked into a hotel. This went on for 3 months, and we had met a handful of times when my wife caught us. She was waiting in the hotel lobby and saw us coming down from the room. She left me the next day. We separated for 8 months, and they were terrible for all of us, especially the children, 9, 7, and 3. We started talking about getting back together. My wife thought that since our sex life wasn't enough for me, and since she was sure I would cheat on her again, we might as well open the marriage. I told her no, because I had learned my lesson, but she wouldn't waver. I relented. We decided, well, she did, not to tell each other the when, where, or with whom. Now, over 2 years later, we are back to normal on the outside. On the inside, I'm dying a little each day. Every time I see her happy, I wonder if it's just her old bubbly self or if she's thinking of someone else. She is a very beautiful woman, and I'm sure she has no problems finding men who want her. Whenever she takes a shower after coming home, whenever she rejects my advances, I think that she has been with someone, and that kills me. I have tried to discuss closing the marriage again, but she shuts down those attempts very quickly with a divorce card. Before all this happened, we had amazing sex several times a week, but now we've probably done it 4 to 5 times in the past 3 years. She demands I use protection, and she refuses to let me go down on her or get her off in any way. I stopped asking because the sex is painfully bad now. I haven't slept with anybody else because the look on my wife's face in that lobby still makes me sick with guilt. I don't know how much more I can take. I love my wife, and I want to spend the rest of my life with her. Will she ever stop punishing me? Have you ever forgiven a cheating spouse and stopped punishing them? What's going on in her head? Now for the top advice before reading the update. So you had great sex life, but you needed to cheat? Okay. Divorce or let it go. You brought this on yourself. Yes, we had amazing sex, and it got better with time because we knew every part of the other's body. Never boring. I cheated because I wanted the excitement, I guess. I thought only a few months and end it. Get it out of my system. My mistress knew it too. It was over the moment you cheated. And her wanting open marriage means it's 100% over. She just doesn't want the divorce legal issues. Yep, she's with him for the kids. Revenge orgasms are keeping her happy. She's probably just waiting till the kids are out of the house, honestly. I think you're right. She is refusing to fully feel sexual pleasure with her husband because she doesn't want to enjoy him or keep wanting him that way. I think she's only staying because of the kids and for financial help and help with parenthood. She's super smart, to be honest, because she took back her control. OP will never have the wife or relationship he had before. I think that women died the minute she took one look at your post-orgasm face in that hotel lobby. Why did you do it? She gave you 3 kids and still had a great sex life with you. Why did you ruin her good marriage? Why did you ruin it for yourself? Cake eaters, they never learn. Had amazing sex 4 to 5 times a week. You screwed the pooch and now you get no cooch. Fooled around and found out, if ever I saw it. Now for the update. Thank you everybody for the reality check. The general consensus that I gathered from the comments, I never thought there would be so many, I'm still reading them, is that you believe my wife doesn't love me anymore. It's probably the truth. She is staying with me for the children, and I fully understand her. I love my children too, and I want to be in their lives all the time, every day. We have worked so hard for the beautiful life we have, and we did it all primarily for the sake of our children. I will not ruin that now for selfish reasons. I have decided to stop hoping/wanting/demanding love and forgiveness from her. Instead, I will accept that I will always live with this guilt. That's only fair. I will enjoy the other aspects of our marriage, like raising our beautiful children with an amazing person like her and watching them grow up to be the good human beings they are. I will always love my wife, and I will always regret what I have done, but I need to move on too. I'm going to seek help for my mental health and probably start seeing other people too, when or if I'm ready. It might be a good idea to broach this with her. Is an open relationship the best thing for your family, or should you go your separate ways and co-parent amicably? A marriage without love leaves you open to resentment, and that can only be contained for so long. Don't assume that your children won't feel or be aware of this resentment. You're modeling what a romantic relationship looks like to them. It's a big responsibility. Yep, better to separate. Instead of living a lie which will make your children emotionally damaged. I went along with a loveless marriage for several months for the kids. Now that I finally got my guts to divorce her, we're better parents and friends separately than we were together. We even live in the same apartment complex for now, so the kids can walk back and forth as needed. Far healthier for the kids to see. Just one thing, kids will feel the tension, but won't understand it. Been there, and I was crying myself at night for my parents to get separated, because I hate to live with them because I knew they hated each other. I was 8. Don't do the same mistake. Divorced parents is always better for kids than married parents who hate each other. I remember begging my parents to get a divorce for about a decade prior to moving out. My parents almost never fought in front of me, but even when things were good, I could still feel it in the air. Kids notice lack of warmth and affection. They can't verbalize it, but they can tell. OP is still in denial. He says he can accept his wife's stance, but he doesn't realize their relationship is the only one damaged. He still thinks he can win over his kids by convincing them nothing's wrong. Put down the copium and get an amicable divorce. And for God's sake, find a girlfriend or something, because you need to get over this yesterday. My parents also almost never fought in front of us, and I think that was a mistake. I didn't get to learn firsthand that it's okay to share your feelings, talk it out, reassure, and make up afterward. I grew up conflict avoidant because I thought that was healthy. It was such a surprise to learn that conflict is in fact healthy in relationships and friendships. I'm learning that now in my 30s and putting it into practice. But even now, when I want to share my feelings, I worry that there isn't a safe space to do so and that the friendship will end. Of course, some friendships end anyway, and the ones that can't hold space for sharing feelings are better out of my life anyway. Next story. Ex left me for another guy, got pregnant, and now wants me back. I feel like I got a revenge fantasy fulfilled, but it doesn't actually feel very good. A year ago, my girlfriend of 2 years left me seemingly out of the blue. A few weeks later, she was dating a new guy. I don't think she cheated, but I do think she developed an interest in him and broke up with me specifically to date him. He's definitely more attractive than I am and has a better job. So, in a way, I couldn't really blame her. Obviously, there's more to a man than his looks and his income, but on a surface level, he's way better than an average-looking guy like me, who just fixes computers in a back room all day. Once I saw that, I removed her from everything and did what I could to put her out of my mind. I moved on and hadn't heard anything about her until a few days ago when she messaged me asking to talk. She wanted to meet up, but I told her I'd rather never see her again, so she could text if she wanted to say anything. She told me that her new guy had become abusive, and when he found out she was pregnant, he demanded she terminate or he'd leave her. So she left and moved in with her parents. She went on about how bad her situation had been with him for a while. His parents looked down on her and accused her of being after their money, actually tried to convince her privately to leave their son so he could find someone else, and a few other unpleasant things. Whether all this is true, I have no idea. She then hinted at wanting to get back together, but I shut that down immediately. I told her I'm not going to take her back after she discarded me for someone else, only to come back with his child and expect me to be some safety net for a woman I no longer feel anything for. I told her to lose my contact info and leave me alone, then blocked her. She tried a few other ways to contact me, but I just block and refuse to engage further. This feels like a scenario a lot of guys dream of, a sort of messed up revenge on an ex that hurt them. But all I feel is sadness. That child has a rough life ahead of them, with a father that wants them to not exist and a mother who I also don't think too highly of now. I won the breakup, I guess, but it's a hollow victory. I feel kind of dumb for it, but I cried a bit this morning thinking about it, and I don't want to tell anyone else about this in person, so I'm sharing it here. Now for the comments. It's a hollow victory. You're a well-balanced person. You're all right. Don't change. Thanks, but I tripped and got hot sauce over myself, so I'm not that well-balanced, and I'm gonna have to change. But also, genuinely thank you for the kind words. You're also quite funny, OP. You're a good person, and I hope you find a partner as kind and empathetic as yourself, who deserves you and will always value you. A man's best revenge is to move on and succeed in life without her. That will destroy her way more than this. The best revenge is a life well lived was something I read shortly after our breakup that stuck with me. I moved on and lived my life without her. Now that I've seen her get a bit of karmic justice, I just don't feel anything but sympathy for her child, and a little bit even for her. Don't let that sympathy or sadness put you in the mind of wanting to help. You are a good person, and she knows that. When she comes around, and she will, do not let her tears sway you. Don't let her pleas for you to help feed her kid have you digging into your pockets to give her money. When she needs a place to stay, don't be that guy to let her stay for a few days. She is desperate, and that's why she reached out. That desperation won't go away with one attempt. Stay vigilant. Sounds like she only wants you back to have someone to help her with soon-to-be child. Luckily, I know her parents have been wanting grandkids and will be happy to help her. They were pressuring us for a kid shortly before we broke up, and it was clear they didn't want just one. So I hope they still have that desire because they are great people and will be wonderful grandparents to her child if that's the case. Last story. My ex's mother called me years after the breakup and I told her some truths. About a month ago, my ex-mother-in-law messaged me asking if we could talk. She used to treat me almost like a daughter, very understanding and warm, always kind to me, but she was extremely lenient toward her son, whom she spoiled rotten, quite literally. Well, not exactly literally, but you know. So I said okay, and she called me on the phone. She told me this whole story about how my ex-father-in-law is going broke and how everything has been getting more expensive. She told me about my ex's last girlfriend, which lasted only a few months, and about his ex-wife, whom he married after we broke up. That lasted a year. So, what she wanted was to ask me for help, for me to give a statement attesting to his good character, because his ex-wife is suing him, accusing him of SA and stalking, because she's autistic. She didn't get into detail. The thing is, this relationship ended about 5 years ago. I thank the gods to this day that I was able to escape that hellhole. He was never physically abusive to me. Well, except for the coerced sex, which happened more often than I care to admit. But he would verbally trample me. Like, literally argue every single thing I said, every idea, even my feelings. He rationalized everything and found ways to convince me that, logically, my feelings were wrong. He convinced me I didn't have any friends anymore. He pulled me away from my family. He would manipulate everybody around him, including his parents, who just thought he was very bright. He would say that home chores were demeaning, and therefore he wouldn't do them. And the house would be a dumpster for days and days. He would not even do the dishes. Meanwhile, I was finishing law school and working an internship, basically sleeping no more than 6 hours a day. And he was unemployed, had already finished his degree, and just stayed at home all day playing video games. We lived together for 6 years. My only regret was not leaving sooner. He would be rude to waiters and pretty much every worker. He would speak a lot and very fast and very loud in a way that no one could get a word in, much less a full sentence. Once I got sick, puking and sweating with the flu. I asked for help, and he said he couldn't do anything. I had to call my mother, who brought me meds and soup and sat with me. Once, he threatened to kill himself if I left him. He told me multiple times he believed sex was not about pleasure, but about power. Knowing it was important to me, he would withhold it. He pretty much broke me, and though I'm much better now, I'm still healing. Some months ago, he reached out saying that he had broken up with his girlfriend and that we should speak again because how come he wouldn't have me in his life anymore? And also, he was going to the gym, and he was tested at a high testosterone level, and that religious girls were worse than feminists because at least we were sincere. Like, he said some crazy things. That was on WhatsApp. I blocked him without responding. He then proceeded to message me on Instagram, which I blocked, then had the audacity to send an SMS. I blocked him there too, blocked him everywhere. Didn't even listen to the voice notes or open the pictures. I don't want to know. So yeah, when his mother called me asking for help, I told her I'm sorry. I feel your pain as a mother and I even sympathize, but I cannot get involved, and I will not say something that I cannot attest is true. And yeah, I got mad and ended up telling her a thing or two about her precious son. She, and every friend of his and his family, are definitely blocked for good now. And once again, I thank the gods I was able to leave that situation behind, truly, from the bottom of my heart. Glad you came out of the relationship. What made you realize it in the end? After 6 years? Your story and realization might help others. Honestly, I knew I was unhappy for at least a couple years, but I felt like I couldn't leave him. So it was brewing, you know, and he'd always threaten that I'd leave him. He'd say, "Oh, you want to leave me then?" Every argument we had. So one day I answered yes. Yes, I want to leave you. But what really pushed me over the edge was this song by a Brazilian artist. I was at school and the video clip started playing on TV and it just clicked. I like to say that song is the official soundtrack to my breakup. Haha. It's literally the artist singing, "Leave me alone. Let me live my life. Let me be happy," and stuff like that. Forget about him, his family, and people who enable men like him. You are free, smart, and happy now. Treat yourself to a night out in town. Enjoy your life. Good riddance. You should have agreed to testify, but never use the phrase, "for him." When you're on the stand, tell them that he verbally and emotionally abused you, as well as repeatedly raping you. Actually contact his ex and offer a written statement. I would love to have a chat with her, that's for sure. My sister did this. It was healing for her because nobody understood what she went through as that girl. I highly suggest you do this. Update. My husband died and I have to pretend that he was a great man who loved me. Original post. My husband passed away 3 months ago and I felt relieved when it happened. He abused me financially, mentally, and even physically. When I got pregnant, he convinced me to quit my job, promising that he would take care of me. From that moment on, I couldn't buy anything without his permission, not even a single cream. Even when I had a little money of my own, I still had to ask him before buying anything. What was mine was his, and what was his was also his. I stayed because I still loved him and had nowhere else to go. I had such low self-esteem that I let him walk all over me. By the time I stopped loving him, he had already had his first affair. He made me believe it was my fault because I didn't want to have sex for months after giving birth, which had left me torn and required stitches. I was already planning my escape, saving money little by little while working from home, since he wouldn't let me work outside due to his extreme jealousy. I wanted to save enough to hire a lawyer. He was having another affair, this time with a male friend of his, which at least kept him busy and away from me. I didn't care anymore that he was ignoring me. I wanted him as far away as possible. I knew about the affair and could have caused a big scene, but I didn't. I kept quiet and focused on my escape while he and his lover continued their secret relationship. I felt nothing but disgust for my husband. Then, my husband died in a way I never would have expected. Now he's being treated like a martyr. When someone dies, do all their sins just disappear? Because even my family who knew about his affairs and the way he manipulated me now talk about what a good man he was and say we shouldn't speak ill of the dead. Everyone around me talks about how beautiful our relationship was. His family goes on about what a great man he was and how he always focused on providing for me and our child. His affair partner even hugged me at the funeral, saying my husband loved me. His friends kept talking about what a wonderful person he was. They all act like he was some kind of saint, saying he's now an angel in heaven. I have to pretend to be sad. The day he died, I cried a lot, but it wasn't out of sadness. I cried with relief because I felt free. It would have taken me many years to save enough for lawyers with my small business, and he would have made my life a living hell if he ever found out I was hiding money. He told me so every time I stood up for myself. But now, I have the house. I have everything. I receive monthly widow's benefits, and I have full custody of my children. I've started seeing a psychologist, and everyone thinks I'm doing it to cope with grief. But that's not the case. I'm doing it to heal from the abuse I suffered. It was really hard to pretend to be sad at the funeral, but I did it for my child. I did it because now everything is over, and I am finally free. If I had made a scene, my ex-mother-in-law would have tried to take everything from me. She was just like him. But now I'm just the sad widow who needs help in their eyes. The clueless widow who didn't know anything. That's what's allowing me to be free and keep what I deserve. Edit. We are not from an Islamic country, and here same-sex couples can live and marry freely. He cheated on me with a man, just like he cheated on me with a woman. I guess he was bisexual. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I'd sell that house and move far, far away from his family. For now, I can sell the house, but in the future when I get a better job, I plan to move and finally cut off contact with them. For now, I can only move away little by little. Here there is a law that prohibits preventing grandparents from seeing their grandchildren. I had already left my ex when he died, but I was still so relieved. My son was a toddler, and with that abusive POS gone, I wouldn't feel that fear of him hurting my son or breaking no contact order again and hurting me. My son never needs to know what his dad was. And of course, I was relieved there would be no more victims. I still have a hard time receiving condolences. The man tried to end me and would beat me over something as minor as spilled coffee. I empathize with what you are experiencing, the relief and the secrecy you keep around your feelings. But I'm happy for you. I'm happy for your loss. You deserve nothing but peace. Why is it when abusive/horrible people die, we pretend they were good people, when we know they're rotten and the world is a better place without them? Why can't we be truthful? My dad recently died after 60 years of marriage to my mom. I'm kinda glad I had an emergency and missed his memorial service where hundreds of people showed up to talk about what a great inspiration and pillar of society he was.
To me, he was a wife beater, a cheater, a child abuser, a narcissist, and a household dictator. I am looking forward to my mom's last years without that albatross around her neck. Somehow she still mourns him a little, but I think she is more relieved than sad that he is gone too. Solidarity, OB. You were not alone. I've experienced the same thing. My late husband was an a-hole. When he died, I found $120K in debt, amphetamines, benzodiazepines, and a lover. When he died, I and my children were free. I kind of kept my mouth shut for the sake of his mother, but everyone else knew he was a jerk. Not speaking ill of the dead is horse dung. The trauma and pain they cause does not disappear when they die. Not speaking ill of the dead just supports old legacy BS. Screw that. Is it great that you can't defame dead people? No one can sue you. Not their family, estate, or friends. No one can sue you for saying bad things about a dead person. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. You can't defame the dead. So say what you want. Say it quietly, say it loudly. Put it on a billboard, put it on flyers, and pass around the neighborhood. Now for the update. It's been several weeks since I last posted, and I didn't expect my post to end up in other places. Honestly, I had completely forgotten that I posted here, but a few days ago, my late husband's lover and friend visited my house, saying he had found my post. I didn't expect him to find this, and it scared me a bit. One of my sons let him in, and since I hadn't heard a doorbell, I had no choice but to talk to him to avoid making a scene in front of my kids. I also wanted to hear what he had to say. Once we were alone, he told me that he knew I was aware of his affair with my husband because of a post I allegedly made on TikTok. However, I never posted anything on TikTok, so I think someone else must have uploaded it there. He admitted that my husband wasn't the best spouse, but insisted that he was a great friend and a hard-working man, respected by everyone. He said that even his family misses him terribly, and that despite his mistakes, I should let go of the past and stop digging into it, claiming that we're all better off that way. He kept insisting to the point where I felt intimidated. His attitude reminded me of my husband, and it was the first time I had that feeling with anyone other than him. I usually have no problem talking to men, but this situation made me feel like I was on the verge of a panic attack. He's clearly scared that I'll reveal everything. He's gay, and I don't know if he has a boyfriend, but perhaps he does, which could explain why he doesn't want me to say anything about the affair. I've been a submissive woman for years. My ex-husband turned me into a fearful person, someone I wasn't before. He made me the kind of woman who always kept her head down. But when he died, I felt liberated. I cried with relief for days. When this man came into my house and started telling me what to do, it felt like seeing my ex-husband all over again, giving me instructions on how to behave and what I should do. This is a man who knew very well that I was in an abusive relationship, because he knew what my ex was like and still chose to sleep with him. The man my husband made me cook for, only to then sleep with him as if I were just a maid, was now at my house telling me what a great person my ex was, and that I should keep quiet. It was too much. I wanted to slap him, but I ended up punching him in the face. I don't regret it. It felt like hitting my husband too. I yelled at him to leave or else I would tell everyone what had happened. He left and hasn't contacted me since. Initially, my plan was to stay silent and let go of the past. But that's different from having this man come into my home and try to control me like I'm some sort of doll. Maybe my reaction wasn't the best, but I'm tired of being told to shut up. I never had the courage to stand up to my husband, but in that moment, I felt like I finally did. I haven't told anyone about the situation yet, nor do I plan to, but if he tries anything, I won't hesitate to post on TikTok or Facebook about everything. Regarding the house, with the economic crisis, I'm not sure anyone can afford to buy a house like this right now. For now, I'm focusing on finding a better job so I can eventually rent out this house as a source of income. My other goal is to buy a small piece of land, no matter how far away, just to have something that belongs to me and my children. My children don't seem to miss their father much, and I understand why. It took a while to find them a child psychologist, but they recently started attending sessions and are doing well. I'm also seeing a psychologist. One of the best decisions I've made is gradually distancing myself from my ex-mother-in-law and even my own family. I've started making excuses to see them less often, citing work or saying we're not at home. While I still let my ex-mother-in-law visit occasionally, I think even the kids are happier now that they see me in a better mood. I doubt many people are still interested in this, but thank you for the messages. However, please understand that cultures and laws vary. Here, buying a house or moving to another part of the country within a month is nearly impossible for many. I truly loathe the idea that you should not speak ill of the dead. If they were evil, I see no reason we should pretend they were saints. Our memories of them certainly were not of saints. I have a friend whose abusive husband was killed in a road accident. I feel bad for her because even though he was an abusive BOS, feelings are complicated, and she had a hard time with that. I feel bad for his kids because they lost their dad, but I do not feel bad for him, not one bit. Never liked him in life, and death doesn't change that. He deserved to die. Seriously, the audacity of the affair partner to come to OP's house. Screw that guy. And she has a perfect out if the guy tells anyone about the punch. All she has to say is that he made a crude pass at her, so she fought back. Last story. I, 32 female, think that I have to break up with my fiance, 35 male, after he embarrassed me in public over a sandwich. For starters, there are many layers to this situation that make it feel like it has to be the end. My partner and I have been together for over 9 years, and honestly, the first 4 to 5 years were great. I had never felt this way about anyone in my life, but things started going downhill after that. I began to realize that he always had an excuse for not helping me with cooking or cleaning, no matter how much I begged for help. He started making me feel like visiting my family was a burden on him, making snide remarks the entire time, and turning every trip into a miserable experience that left me in tears. I know it might sound dumb, but I've even started having panic attacks because of how much he ruins the holidays. He doesn't communicate in a healthy way, and seems to wait until the last possible moment to apologize, if he even does. I've been at the last straw point for a few years now, but I always end up forgiving him because, well, I love him. It's like that saying, when it's great, it's really great, but when it's bad, it's really bad. Now, let me tell you about what happened a few days ago when he lost his temper in public, over a sandwich. We both had a day off, so we decided to run some errands and then grab lunch at a sandwich shop. Honestly, the first half of the day was fine, but everything changed when it was time to eat. We walked in, and because it was noon, the place was packed. Unfortunately, there was only one person working, so we had to wait in line for about 20 minutes. It was frustrating, but I try to keep things positive because I know he gets irritated easily. While we were waiting, we overheard the employee tell other customers that some ingredients were either out or had gone bad. It might have been due to the hurricane the week before. While we didn't get hit too hard, some areas lost power, but I'm not entirely sure what was going on. For a bit of background, I had an ex who used to work at this particular sandwich chain, and he introduced me to a sandwich I've loved since I was about 18 or 19. I introduced it to my fiance, and we've always ordered the same thing whenever we go there. Finally, it was our turn and we started our order. Bread, meat, cheese, then into the toaster. When it came out, I asked for lots of spinach. The employee looked at me and broke the news that the spinach had gone bad. Bummer, but it wasn't the end of the world. Or at least I didn't think so. My fiancé standing next to me suddenly exploded. Are you freaking serious? Dude, F this sh*. She did this on purpose. We're freaking leaving. Come on. He then stormed out, leaving me standing there while everyone in the shop stared uncomfortably, like watching a Karen meltdown. Except it was my partner causing the scene. Just to add, I have extreme social anxiety, and he is absolutely aware of how severe it is. I stood there and quietly told the employee that he was upset, and we might just head out. That's when she said, "Nah, if you leave, I'm calling the cops." My anxiety went through the roof. The cops. What? I checked my phone, and my fiancé had texted me, "Get that food and we're done." So now, not only were the cops potentially involved, but I was also apparently getting broken up with. I texted him back saying he had left me in a bad situation and knew how bad my anxiety was. Meanwhile, the employee said, "I can't believe you would come in here, knowing we're low on ingredients, and waste what little we have." And honestly, she had a point. I was going to settle for lettuce instead of spinach.
But now I was standing there, being blamed for something I didn't do. I got another text from him. Screw it, find someone else to come and get you. Great, now I was stranded. I finished building the sandwiches, paid, and tried to hide behind a bag of food, hoping he was still there. Thankfully, he was. Unfortunately, the entire ride home was awful. For 15 minutes straight, he screamed at me, blaming me for everything, saying I wasn't a team player, and that I had chosen my side. I was bawling the entire time. I haven't spoken to him for 3 days. He sent me a text apologizing, but honestly, I'm feeling fed up. I also have a family event tomorrow, but I guess I can't go because he has the only vehicle. So once again, I'm going to disappoint my family. I don't know, I'm just stressed out and unsure what to do anymore. If you've made it to the end, thank you for letting me vent. If you have any advice, I would really appreciate it. I think this is a wonderful wake-up call, telling you that you need to be done because this isn't how you want to be treated by your partner. She's in an abusive relationship, and if she marries him, it will only get way worse. He's already isolating her from her family. Having one car was by design. He threatens to leave her in public. She needs to go to her family and break up with him over text and have them get her things for her. He's dangerous. OP, I was with someone for 10 years who did this multiple times, among other horrible things. I've been divorced from him for 20 years, thankfully. Please get out of there, but be careful because he sounds unhinged. For me, it was just 3.5 years and it was absolute hell. The first year was good, and then it was just like what OP was describing. Absolutely awful. One time, he literally drove off because he didn't agree with me being polite to someone, and I just stood there. He would pull this crap for family events too, even during a freaking funeral. No, no, no. OP, get out. I loved this guy so much, I thought I'd marry him. And I'm thankful I caught him cheating, because I was holding on to straws too, forgiving him over and over. The situation you just described would be one-on-one what my ex and I would be like. And it's really not okay. I've been without him for some years now, and I feel relieved and liberated every single day. It took me literally over a year to stop being surprised that no one started screaming at me or people around me when stuff like you're describing happened. All of this is unacceptable. You are not responsible for his behavior, and a clerk, who had every right to be angry at him, had no right to threaten you with the cops. Dump him, but don't go back there. Do you know what the cops say when they get called out to a restaurant because someone has decided they don't want an order? Because they were informed after the order began that an essential item is not in stock? They say, "Why the hell did you call us out here? You did nothing wrong."